The Undercountry Music News is an excerpt of the weekly internet broadcast Undercountry Music, which features music from great country artists you won't hear on mainstream radio, as well as a roundup of the most interesting country music news of the week without all the fluff. This program you are listening to right now contains only the news portion of the show. To listen and subscribe to the full weekly episode containing the music and interviews, please visit undercountry.com or simply subscribe to the Undercountry Music Podcast on iTunes. Let's get into it. Newsflash! It's time for the Undercountry Music News! It just gives you warm fuzzies all over, doesn't it? I'm wearing a quite comfortable hoodie right now. Pair of cans on my head. That's what we call headphones in the biz. In the biz, baby. That's what I am. Hey, hello to all you people out there in talk show land. That's right, I'm talking to y'all on Spreaker. And also out there listening on YouTube. The Undercountry Music News is just an excerpt of the larger internet broadcast / podcast Undercountry Music. Now, why do I break this excerpt out of the show and release it as its very own show? Well, the reason is quite simple. Because, well, Spreaker will let me have music on the show, but iHeartRadio won't. And I'm trying to get 100 followers on Spreaker so that I can get this show onto iHeartRadio, but iHeartRadio won't allow music. So the news portion of the show is basically a talk show all on its own, and I can get that onto iHeartRadio. But first I need 100 followers on Spreaker because that's kind of the doorway into iHeartRadio. I hope that made sense. And also YouTube, I put the Undercountry Music News on YouTube by itself because I can put music on YouTube, but they have algorithms, and when they hear copywritten music, they give you a flag on your account for copyright violation, even if you have permission to play it. They don't care. They see the copyright, it flags their algorithm, and you get a mark against you. And if you get 3 of those, they take your account down. So I sort of use YouTube and Spreaker to try and direct people back towards the full show. So if you'd like to hear the entire show with music and all the other stuff I blab about, and quite often, about half the time, I have a co-host on here. I invite a different artist on here to sit down with me or call in, and we do all this together and explore that artist more in depth. And if you'd like to check out the full show, go to undercountrymusic.com. You can also just go to undercountry.com. Anyway, let's get into it. The Undercountry Music News. What is it? What is the Undercountry Music News? Is it just where I sit here and blab the same stuff that everybody else is? No, that's not what I do here. The Undercountry Music News, I go on to Google every single week and I type in the search term country music news. And whatever shows up on the very first page of search results with Google, I look on there, and most of them are just populated with artist press releases and no news at all. It's just, it's just a marketing front for artists and labels and the industry. And, that's not news. That's a propaganda machine, which is what most of real news in the world is anymore. Anyway, but I digress. That's another rant for another time. Anyway, what I do is I dig past all the fluff, garbage, and bogus press releases, and I bring you the items, the 1 or 2 items from each of these websites that are actual news, and I compile them into this heaping, steaming pile of cockahoo that you're listening to right now, known as the Undercountry Music News. Yes! so glad you could join me. Now, what do I do when I go onto a website and it is not reporting any country music news, but it's supposed to be, and it claims that it does? Well, I got a simple solution for that. I choose one terrible, terrible website each week to be the unfortunate recipient of the dreaded Under Country Music News Wet Belch of the Week. Ooh, it's gonna get stanky in here. I was coloring Easter eggs last night, so I should have some good stuff built up in there. All right, we ready to get into this? Let's do it. All right, over at GAC, Great American Country, 3 weeks in a row they have topped the search results. For years it's been CMT at the top of the search results, but GAC has just claimed that position with a vengeance. And hats off to them, because they actually are reporting some real news. As a matter of fact, I have 3 stories from them. I actually had 4, but I found a website that wasn't doing so good, but they also had run one of these stories, and I gave it to them as pity. Yeah, that's what I do. I prop up businesses that suck, and then I call it National Record Store Day. Oh, I have a rant for those of you just on the talk show format. In the full episode of 114 of Under Country Music, of which you're hearing the excerpt of the news from right now, at the very beginning of that, I do a whole rant about Record Store Day and why I don't like Record Store Day. And if you want to hear that, go check out the full episode. Anyway, over at GAC, Eric Church announced last week that he would be releasing a vinyl edition of his album, The Outsiders, on Record Store Day. Loser. Still one loser. Okay, where was I? All right. Yes, Record Store Day. Hey, good for him. Whatever. Also, Omnivore Records has released a series of recordings by Hank Williams Sr. called the Garden Spot Programs from 1950. I guess it was a broadcast in 1950. And they released it on, you guessed it, National Record Store Day. Okay, I'm done bitching about National Record Store Day, okay? This includes 24 previously unreleased recordings from Hank Sr. that originally aired 60 years ago. Now, I noticed they're wording things very, very carefully in this description. They aren't saying previously unreleased songs. They're saying previously unreleased recordings. Feel my air quotes? And which means, if I had to take a wild guess, live versions of his greatest hits that we've all heard 5 million times. And there's probably millions and millions and millions of live recordings of this guy floating around. Because, he was the most famous guy in country music. Still pretty cool, though. And I look forward to checking it out. Hopefully there's some good nuggets on there. But, what do you find after 60 years? You find the tape where he's, singing in the shower at that point? What do you dig up? Oh, yeah, he's dead. Dig up. Okay. Also over at GAC, George Strait. The George Strait that everyone is pretending is retiring and making a big hoo-ha about. And I also, an episode or two ago, I also gave my thoughts on this bogus retirement thing, trying to milk an extra buck out of everyone. That's stupid. George Strait just announced that he has about 10 shows left on his bogus farewell tour that's lasted 2 years. Then he's going to take about a year off. Of course you're going to take a year off. Then he's going to make a new album and then go do some more shows. In other words, he's not retiring. You idiots. He's just not doing the massive tours anymore. He's going to fly out and do a spot show here and there. And I actually got some more about that a little later on in this news roll that I dug up on another news site. But we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, we're done with GAC. Out of here, GAC. Nicely done. We'll give you a little pat on the butt there for bringing us 3 stories when a lot of these places don't bring us any. Okay, CMT, Country Music Television. They are reporting that People Magazine is reporting. All right, did you catch that? For those of you low and slow right now, CMT is reporting that People Magazine is reporting. Now, I'm reporting that CMT is reporting that People Magazine is reporting. That Glenn Campbell has been moved into an Alzheimer's care facility. For those of you living under a country music rock, Glenn Campbell was diagnosed with Alzheimer's a few years back, and then he went out on tour and, went out and performed to the best of his ability while he, up until he just simply couldn't anymore, and then they had to pull him off the road. And I did get the pleasure of seeing Glenn Campbell perform on that tour, and I saw some real flashes of brilliance. I got to see firsthand, just in little spurts here, because he was in a bad way, and he was forgetting things and making a lot of mistakes. But every once in a while you'd see him pop off with a little guitar solo that would just blow your freaking mind for a few minutes, and then he'd kind of get lost and forget what he was playing and forget what he was singing. That was sad to see, but his whole band was his family, and he was surrounded by family in front of an audience that absolutely loved him. Oh, and by the way, his last album, Ghost in the Mirror? I think that's what it's called. I listened to that whole thing, and it was just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Go look for it on Spotify and listen to that thing. It just blow you away. Anyway, he has been moved into an Alzheimer's care facility, and I'm going to imagine that, at the rate of his deterioration, maybe a year, maybe 2, and then we'll be saying goodbye to Mr. Campbell completely. But Mr. Campbell, it's been an honor. Anyway, over at Country Weekly, Willie Nelson. Seems like I report something about this old codger every damn week here, doesn't it? He is receiving his 5th degree black belt in Gong Quan Yu Sol. Notice I said gong, not bong. 5th degree black belt in Gong Quan Yu Sol, which is a form of martial arts that emphasizes the application of striking, locking, and throwing techniques in practical, free-flowing fighting situations. Try saying that, Stone. Gong Quan Yu Sol, free-flowing fighting situations. I couldn't say it stoned. I can hardly say it sober. Hi-ya! Said Miss Piggy. Don't F with Willie. He's coming for his stolen armadillo. By the way, on last week's show, he got his armadillo stolen. Go back and listen to that episode. All right. Taste of Country. Quite appropriate that we're at Taste of Country right now. And you know why? Because they get the undercountry music news. Dreaded Easter egg wet belch of the week. Because they got nothing, baby. They got nothing. They're soiling my undies this week. Get out of here. Get out of here. You're bugging me. What? My hair. You hit my hair. That's from Saturday Night Fever, I think. All right. Could have been from Greece. Anyway, moving on to NashvilleGab.com. George Strait. This is the story I told you I was gonna get to. George Strait makes a very quick and small statement. Just a little almost nothing. You blink your ears and you would have missed this. And this small little statement seems to allude that after taking a year off, he may do something in Vegas. George Strait run in Vegas, taking up a residency a la Garth Brooks. Maybe he'll take over Garth's stage over there. Well, you can go to the tape for yourself. By the way, kids, tape, that's what we used to record these records on that you'll find at National Record Store Day. Anyway, you can go and hear this little snippet for yourself over at nashvillegab.com. They're using a whole lot of little snippets from iHeartRadio over there. Notice a nice thing. It's kind of cool. You just click around and listen to different stuff. Anyway, over at theboot.com, Bucky Covington. You know that guy who sang Different World? It was a different life when we were boys and girls. Not just a different time, it was a different world. Well, apparently he's gone Comanche. That's right. Now, I'm not talking about he's running around with no underwear on. Well, he could be. Probably is. I know I would. No, what I mean is that he has become an independent artist, which I'm very happy to be reporting, rather than being under the thumb of a major label. And as an independent artist, he has released his very first song as an independent artist, entitled Buzzin. Bzzz. All right, I grabbed this song for myself, and I had a good listen. It had a great sound, a really cool groove to it. The music was not typical. The vocal style was not typical. It was a good listen. I got to tell you, I really enjoyed it. But, unfortunately, I'm going to give it down marks on the lyrics, because the lyrics had a lot of bad cliches going on. The typical mama in the kitchen frying chicken, and the girls getting their legs all tan, and, the same crap everyone else writes. Right? On a scale from 1 to 10, I got to give Bucky Covington's song Buzzing a 4. And the 4 is strictly on bad cliche lyrics. Everything else about the song is awesome, though. I love it. So, unfortunately, the lyrics and the content, because what you say, it means something. Get a damn original thought, people. Come on. That might be. Come on. A different world. Let's put this in contrast. What has worked for Bucky Covington, okay? A different world worked for him because he wasn't saying just the same old crap as everybody else. He actually said something that struck people and resonated with them. So here's what I don't understand. You put something out like that, you get a wild success with it. Obviously, your audience is telling you, yes, finally, someone's not dropping a tailgate by the creek and drinking a six-pack in the moonlight while she shakes it on my toolbox. By the way, wow, the way that came out. I actually meant an actual physical toolbox up in the pickup truck. Whoa, all right. But anyway, that worked. So then why do these artists that put out these songs that resonate with people then revert back to making crap? I don't understand it. I don't get it. You're independent now. It wasn't so that you could exercise a clue once in a while, Bucky. I think this is going to have some mediocre success and then fade away. And that's unfortunate because he's a real talented artist. Anyway, moving on. Over at Country Standard Time, I didn't find anything interesting at all. But I already gave away the belch this week, so I guess now I'm guilty of rewarding failure. Right, over at the615.com. Nothing but crap over there, too. Man, I ought to dole out these wet belches like Easter candy over here. You know what? I think I will dole them out. All right. That's for Country Standard Time, and that one's for the 615. Nothing but crap. In 615, I usually find something good over there. I'm real disappointed in them this week. I had higher hopes. Anyway, over at Country Music is Love, which normally sucks. They got something over here. Natalie, Stovall, and The Drive are set to make their Grand Ole Opry debut on Tuesday, May 6th. Now, Natalie states that this is the second time she has gotten to debut at the Opry. Now, how do you debut for a second time? That's not a debut. That's one time. Okay, here's her reasoning. Once as a solo, because apparently she went there once as just Natalie Stovall, and now as a band as Natalie Stovall and The Drive. I mean, come on, no. I'm sorry, no. Your band is named Natalie Stovall and The Drive, not The Drive. Which means it's not a band! It's still you solo! You know, this is what some artists try to pull. And you know what? It's real insulting to musicians. You know, they give their backing band the incorrect impression that they actually have some sort of, you know, investment in the group. Which they don't. Ever. Alright, I'll tell you what. You backing band people, or you people who, yeah, that's right. All you people who play in bands and you think you're in a band, but the name of the band has one person from the band's name in it. All right, come here for a minute. Come here. Uncle Neal, who's been around this old music block for quite a few slings around the big orange fireball in the sky, has got something to impart to you. Just there you go. Come on over here. Everybody, all in here. Sit there, crisscross applesauce for a minute, and open your ear holes. All right, you ready? It's like this. If you are in a band and you are being told that you are a band member and therefore are making more of an investment in the quote-unquote group, that's right, for a potential better future payoff in the future, rather than getting a bigger paycheck right now as a hired gun in the backing band, and the name of your band is the same as the person singing lead, you do not play in a band. You are being BS'd in the worst way possible. You are being played for a sucker a-hole loser. Loser. I got an L on my forehead right now, and I'm looking at you. Now, mind you, there is nothing wrong with being somebody's backing musician. Nothing wrong at all. Perfectly honorable. There are a lot of wonderful musicians that, that make a great living doing that. And actually, and the really top ones end up making a name for themselves doing that. But you are not a band member. You are not a band member, and you have zero incentive to make an investment in that act and take any sort of financial risk because of the act. You need to get paid for your rehearsal time, both in and out of group rehearsals, meaning your self-preparation time, getting up on the music before you walk in the door, as you should do as a professional. your studio time, your travel time, your performances, wear, tear, and maintenance on all of your equipment, reinvestment into replacement equipment, plus per diem and cartage, meaning a daily living allowance on the road. You are going to be in a tin can hurtling down the road with 4 or 5 other smelly people with their farts in your face. You got to get paid for that. All right? And the trouble of hauling your crap around. Because you are not being fulfilled as an artist. You're fulfilling somebody else's artistical expression. So at this point, it's great to be a musician. It's a wonderful profession. I've done it as a living for many years myself. But you are not being artistically fulfilled. You might think you are not. You are fulfilling someone else's vision. So you get paid for everything. When you are a backing musician for an artist, I don't care how hot she looks or how far you think she, he, or it might go in the business. You get your deal in writing. You get your money on the spot. You get advances before heading out on a loser tour. Because at the end of it, I guarantee you, they're going to go, well, we lost our butts. I don't have any money to pay you with. No. You get paid every single night. You get an advance before you get on that bus. And you get everything in writing with one clear person whose pants you can sue the F off of if they try to screw you. When you are a backing player, you hit it, get it, and go. Because it is about the money, and it is only about the money, and nothing else. It's someone else's vision, not yours. Okay, class dismissed. And this has been your Undercountry Music News. Thank you for listening to the Undercountry Music News. The Undercountry Music News is just a small excerpt of the weekly, hour-long internet broadcast Undercountry Music, where I, Neal Smith, not only round up the week in country music news and put my own spin on it, but I also play music and have great interviews by lesser-known original country acts, the kind that you won't hear on mainstream country radio. If you're thirsting for that, get on over to undercountry.com where you can listen and subscribe. You can also subscribe via iTunes to Undercountry Music. Thanks so much. Stay under, stay country.